I apologize. I don't speak well while I'm standing still. I think that's probably because I'm a professional athlete and I can't sit still. But yeah, it's so great to be here with you guys. What a fantastic organization and event that has been put on today. So thank you all for having us here. And I got to meet some awesome kids today. Like, let's give a round of applause for these kids. I'm just going to share with you guys a little bit of my story today, and I feel like that is so minuscule compared to what these two have been through. But yeah, there were 3 very important events in my childhood while I was in Evansville that really shaped who I was as a swimmer and who I was as a person. And the first one, I was 8 years old. I was actually swimming at a clinic in Mount Vernon, and Janet Evans was putting the clinic on. I don't know if you guys know who Janet Evans is, but she was like the swimmer. She was the big dog. She was the gold medalist. She was what everybody wanted to be. And I was the slowest kid at the clinic. I could barely finish a 25. I was getting lapped by everybody. Like I was the kid at the clinic that everybody was looking at, going, "Where's her mom? Like we should probably we should get her out." That was me. I was having a great time. We got out, and Janet was giving us this talk, and she said something that sticks with me to this day. She said, "I was never the most talented swimmer, but I was able to outwork everybody, and that's why I am here. That's why I got to do all these cool things, and I got to swim in the Olympics, and I got to win all these gold medals." And for some reason, me at 8 years old, after I had been lapped over and over and over again during the clinic, said, "Wow, I'm definitely not the most talented. But I can work, I can do that. Anybody can work hard, right?" So that was kind of my first thing. So keeping that in mind, I was not very good at a very young age. You know, I started swimming at age 7, still wasn't good. And about 5 years later, started to kind of get the hang of it, and I was swimming at the state meet. And I went in seated 8, and I had a great swim the week before, so I dropped a lot of time, and I swam my prelims race, and I swam really well again. And I touched the wall, and I was seated 4th going into the finals. And all day, I was telling my parents and my coach, I was like, "I'm gonna win, I'm gonna win, I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna win." And they're like, "Okay, yeah, sure, Lil, okay, whatever." Like, no way this is gonna happen. And sure enough, I spent all day telling myself I was going to win. And I got up on the blocks, and I won the race. And it sounds so cheesy now, thinking about everything that I've done. Like to think that first state title was one of my most proud moments of my career. But that was kind of the moment that I taught myself that I can talk myself into doing anything. If I truly, truly believe in myself and believe in the work that I've put in, I can do it. And I have used those skills to this day. Now, fast forward another 4 years later, I'm 16. Kind of stole this already. I feel like you've heard this fun fact. But this was my third really big moment as a kid that turned me into the swimmer I am today. And I was at junior nationals, and it was kind of a similar thing. I can't remember what I went and seated anyway. I ended up winning. I won the race. I won junior nationals, and I set the national age group record, which is basically like the American record for your age group. So at 16, I was the fastest person that had ever been in the 100 breaststroke. And I started to think, wow, you know, all these swimmers that came before me never went that fast, and the Olympics are 2 years away. It's looking pretty good. Maybe I can do this. And that was kind of the first moment where I had that belief of I can make an Olympic team. So at 16, that one race changed my mindset forever. Well, then we fast forward, I'm in college now, I'm at IU, go Hoosiers. Even though we lost today, exactly. And sure enough, I have a phenomenal freshman year and qualify for my first Olympic team. And I'm heading to Rio, and it was a very interesting experience for me because we're at training camp, and I'm swimming with all these people who I have been watching swim at the Olympics my whole life. So all of a sudden, I go from being a fan of Michael Phelps to being Michael Phelps' teammate. That was a pretty crazy realization, let me tell you. So I'm like hanging out with all these people. I was pretty much fangirling over. And all the while, I'm trying to figure out how to race at the Olympics, which was my first big international meet. Then when we're at training camp, my coach pulls me over. He says, "Hey, Lil, come here. I gotta tell you something." I'm like, "What? What's the big deal?" And he said, "The Russian girl who won world championships last year she just failed a doping test. Just failed a drug test." I said, "So is she not swimming at the Olympics then?" He's like, "Well, no, not right now." I'm like, "What do you mean not right now?" Like, "Well, they have to make the decision. They have to figure out if she's gonna swim or not." I'm like, "What? That doesn't make any sense. She cheated. She shouldn't be able to swim." Nobody wants to race a cheater. So then about a week later, he calls me back over. He says, "Guess what? She's swimming." I'm like, "Well, okay, gotta get ready to go. Gotta get ready." And a couple days later, same thing, pulls me over. "Oh, she's not swimming anymore. I lied." And this decision flip-flopped back and forth for another 2 weeks, about every other day, until the day before we raced, which was the day of opening ceremonies. The Olympics are starting, they are happening. And he says, "All right, get ready to go, she's swimming." Now keep in mind, she had won world championships the year before. She was the only person who had a chance to beat me in this 100 breaststroke for a gold medal. Like the one person, this was it. So I had to figure out a way to beat this girl. And I knew, thinking back to eight-year-old Lilly, this girl is far superior swimmer. She is more talented, she's a better swimmer, she's a better athlete than I am. So I'm like, but I know I outwork her, and I know I got this going for me. So kind of my thing now is kind of the mental game in swimming. But nobody knew that when I was 19 and had never swum an international meet before. So I knew I was gonna have to use that to my advantage to win the race. So I think, locally, you guys all know my story pretty much about what happened in Rio. But this is my version. So this is what actually happened. I was there. So kind of what had happened is I swam my semifinal race. Actually, let me rewind a little bit. So we're sitting in the ready room. And the ready room in Rio was like this little cinder block, really creepy, not finished dirt floors, gross room. And there's a TV in the corner so you can watch the heats before you swim. So I'm watching the race before me. I'm watching Yulia, the Russian girl, swim, and she hits the wall and kind of throws this number 1 up in the air. I'm like, well, I don't think so. This is pretty much all I did. I was like, no. Little did I know, it was not just a cinder block room with a TV in the corner. It was a cinder block room with a TV in a corner and an NBC GoPro on one of the walls on the other side of the room. I didn't know it was in there. So this is what actually happened. I go swim my race. I hit the wall. I throw my number 1 up in the air. Like, yeah, let's go, number 1, right? And I get out. I'm all excited. I'm top seed at the Olympics. Like, oh, this is so much fun. And I walk over to my interview. And let me tell you guys, when you're in an interview after you just raced one of the hardest races in your life, your brain's not working too well. And I'm sitting, I'm like, I think my race is really good. You can't think. And the interviewer asked me, she goes, "Well, what was this about?" And you can briefly see my eyes flutter back and forth, like, ooh, they saw me do something in there. And at that point, I was like, well, they saw what I did. So I just said, you know what, listen, she's been cheating, I don't like it. Revolutionary, right? Little did I know back home, what everybody else saw, what you all saw, was me going, like slow motion, really crazy USA versus Russia thing. Like, I had tweets coming at me saying I had restarted the Cold War. Guys, come on. Anyway, I got done, got back to the village, I was eating dinner, and at the time, your phone reception didn't really work too well in a foreign country, especially Brazil. And one of my friends came over to me and she's like, "What did you do?" I'm like, "What do you mean, what did I do?" I'm like, "I swam my race, like, what are you talking about?" And she said, "Check your phone." And at the time, I checked my phone, it was working. And there is smoke coming out of my phone. Like, it blew up. Like, yeah, people were saying I restarted the Cold War. Like, I think Samuel L. Jackson tweeted at me. It was wild. It was crazy. I was like, I'm just this 19-year-old kid from Evansville, what is happening to me right now? And for the kids over there, I went to the pool that night with 5,000 followers on Instagram, and I came back to the village 2 hours later with 35,000 followers on Instagram. So it was quite literally overnight fame. Not even overnight, like 2 hours of fame.
Oh, wow.
So that next morning, I didn't have to swim in the morning. I just kind of chilled, went and swam out, and I started to sit in my room, and I was freaking out. Of course, it's an Olympic final, like you're gonna be freaking out anyway. Let alone Olympic final pressure, plus whatever else I put on myself. And yeah, I was starting to get really nervous. So ended up going back to the pool that night and getting in for warm up and knowing I was not the superior swimmer. And I'm swimming warm up and I felt unbelievable. I was like, there is no better feeling than getting in the water for the first time and you get in and you're swimming, you're like, there's no way I'm losing this race. So let me kind of go back to 12-year-old Lilly, talking herself into doing things. And that was the thing I had to do for that race. I had to talk myself into being the best. And I did. So I get in the ready room, I'm trying to psych everybody out, I'm like staring people in their eyes. It was really obnoxious. I've rewatched it recently, and I don't know what happened to me. I don't know what happened, but it worked, so it's okay. So yeah, I was staring at Yulia, I'm like looking her in the eyes, I'm like, I don't even know, it was wild, I was a different person. So we walk out, we get on the blocks, I'm just staring at her. Like she's in the lane right next to me, and I'm just waiting for her to look back at me. I don't know where I learned how to do that, but it's pretty crazy. So, get on the blocks, take your mark, go, we're in the water. So now Yuli and I swim completely opposite races. So I am all sprinter and she's mostly like all distance. So the 100 was kind of where we met in the middle. So I knew I was gonna have to go out faster than I had ever gone out before. So I took off, we're at the 50, we're at the halfway point. And I turn, and I look, and she's a body length behind me. And I'm like, yeah, let's go, like, keep going. But keeping in the back of my head, she's a back half swimmer. She's gonna catch you, she's gonna catch you. So hit the 75 mark. So we're 3/4 of the way through the race. And we're dead even. Like, she caught me that fast. We're dead even. I was like, don't you lose this race. Don't you lose this race. So we're stroke for stroke. We're together. No, you can't tell who's in front. We hit about 15 meters out of the finish, and I felt this surge, and I took off. And then I just didn't look behind. I touched the wall, I looked, and I watched her finish. Let me tell you, that's not the best feeling in the world. So that's kind of the story of how I won a gold medal. Didn't happen at the last Olympics, but that's okay. I have one really good story. Hopefully more in the future, but just want to thank everybody again for being here. Granted, you guys are phenomenal people. I would love to go over the edge, but I think I have World Championship trials that week, and I don't know if going off the side of a building that week would be good. Maybe like the week after, but yes, thank you again for having me, and this has been really fun. And yeah, you guys are incredible people, and I'm really, really pleased and grateful to be here. Thank you.